chapter number 10, that is what is Django, Django with Python, sorry, Django and Python, Django MVT, how to get and install Django. In last session, we have seen about what is Django here, then how to get and install the Django. Then we have seen the features, history of Django, then popularity of Django, features, advantages of Django, then the installation process for Django with the Linux platform and for the Windows platform. Now in this session, we are going to continue with Django MVT. So here the MVT, that is model view template. It is a software design pattern. It is collection of three important components, that is model, view and template. It is a software design pattern and the collection of that three component model, that is model, view and template. So model helps to handle the database. It is a data access layer which handles the data. In MVT, model help us to handle the database, that it is a data access layer which handles the data from the database, and the template is a presentation layer. Presentation layer means it handles the user interface part completely. So using template, we are going to interact with the user. Then the view is used to execute business logic and interact with the model to carry data and renders a template. So view is used for executing the business logic. Then although that Django follows the MVC pattern, but it maintains its own convention. So that control is handled by the framework itself. So there is no separate controller and the complete application is based on that MVT. That's why it is called as MVT application also. So there is no separate controller and the complete application for that Django MVT. Here you can see the graph of that Django MVT. Here you can see the user, then the Django controller here, then the URL, view, model, and the template. Here you can see the user request for a resource to the user sends a request to the resource for the from the Django controller. Here, the Django controller. Here you can see the Django works as a controller here. Then it will check that availability of the resources for from the URL. So it will check that availability of the resources from the URL, like it if URL maps, a view is called and that interact with the model and the template. Yeah, you can see that URL map to the view and it will check for the model and the template, and it will send the response to the user as a template. So your user sends a request to the Django. Here Django works as a controller. Then it will check that resources from the URL, from the view, for the model and template. It will send the template. Here template means this is the user interacting with the GUI, that is user interface here. And view is the business logic here, and model means the database access layer. This is the presentation layer, business logic, and this is the database access layer. So whenever user sends the request for any particular requirement, here Django works as a controller here. Here controller means it will control the flow of this requesting and the response here. Here you can see that whenever user send the request to the database, then from the URL it will check from the business logic, it will check for the database and for the template here, and it will send the response as a template through the Django controller to the user. Yeah, the Django responds back to the user and send a template as a response. The next point is Django model. Now we are going to see all these model, view and template one by one. First one is Django model. So in this model is a class which is used to contain essential fields and methods. The Django model means it is a class which is used to contain essential fields and the methods. So each model class maps to a single table in the database. Whenever we are going to create any model, that model means that class maps to a single table in the database. The Django model is a subclass of Django.db.models.model. It is a subclass of this Django.db.models.model. And each field of the model class represents a database field. Whenever we are going to create any model, or that model class represents a database field. So each field of that model class is a database field. That is a column in the database. Means we are going to create a model, means we are going to create a table in the database. Here Django provides us a database abstraction API. It provides a database abstraction API which allows us to create, retrieve, update and delete a record from the map table. That means it provides some APIs for the creating, retrieving, update and delete a record from the map table. So a model is defined in models.py file. This file can contain multiple models. That models.py file contains multiple models. Here you can see the example here. We are creating a model employee. Here now you can see one example for where we are going to create a model employee which has two fields, first name and last name. Here you can see how to create a model. Here you can see from from Django.db import models. In this way we can create, or we are going to import that models from that Django.db. Here from Django.db import models, then create a class employee and models.model. Here you can see we have seen that there are that Django model is a subclass of Django.db.models.model. Here models.model. Okay, so class employee inside the bracket models.model and the colon and the attributes. Here first name is equals to models dot character field. Here that first name will be, that name should be the character. Okay, yeah, so that's why models dot char field inside the bracket maximum length. Here we are going to set the maximum length for that first name. Similarly for the last name equals to models dot, it is a character field, so that's why models dot char field inside the bracket max length is equals to 30. Here we are setting that maximum length for the first name and last name. So your first name and last name fields are specified as a class attributes. Class, that is employee class attributes. These are the attributes of this class. And each attributes map to a database column. These are the columns in the database. Then here this model will create a table into database. After creating this model, it will create a table in the database like here. Create table app name underscore employee. This app name, here you can see, this app name is the combination of it is a table name. It is a combination of app name and the model name. Here model name is employee here. So that can be, we can change that for afterwards if necessary. So here, after creating that model, it will create a table into the database like here, create table app name underscore employee. This is the app name and this is the model name. And that table consists of ID, integer, not null, primary key. These are the constraints for that ID we are going to create. It will auto increment, auto created field is there. Then first name, for first name, here first name varchar 30, it should not be null, not null here, that's why. Then the last name varchar 30, we have set that max size, maximum length for that first name and last name 30 here. So it will create, after creating the model, it will create the table into the database like this. Then here registering or use that model. So after creating a model, that model is registered into the install app inside that settings.py file. So there is one file like settings.py in inside